Are you a current or future physician assistant wanting to learn more about finances? Then join me on this journey to become a PA the FI way. Hi, my name is Kat, and I'm a practicing certified physician assistant who will be your host. It took me 5 years after I started practicing medicine as a PA to thoroughly dive into my personal finances after I discovered the concept of financial independence. I want to use what I have learned to help you avoid some of the financial mistakes that I have made while sharing some of the financial wins that I have had along the way. Join me as we discuss financial strategies to guide you to becoming a physician assistant on the way to financial independence. Welcome back to the PA the FI Way podcast. I'm your host, Kat, and I'm so excited to dive into the topic for today's episode. This podcast teaches PAs and other healthcare professionals alike how they can reach financial independence and have the option to retire early. And no matter your path in medicine, whether you're wanting to retire within 10 to 15 years of graduation, or whether you're wanting to work several decades in medicine, or whether you're a brand new grad, this information will be helpful for all of you. We're going to cover 20 tips for how you can have a sustainable career in medicine with longevity if that is what your goal is. And these 20 tools fall under the framework Refuel, Redesign, and Reclaim. We're going to talk about how you can refuel your mind and body, redesign your clinical role, and reclaim your freedom so you can have a sustainable career in medicine no matter how many years that looks like for you and your life. As a reminder, if you are new to this whole financial independence concept, I have a link for a free download in the show notes that teaches about financial independence and is a workbook for you. But I will also have another link for the episode today that outlines these 20 tips so you can design a sustainable several years while you are practicing medicine in your career. So let's talk about the first step in the framework. It is refuel your mind and body. And there are 8 different tips of how you can do this. You very likely know this about yourself, but if you are not doing well physically or mentally, then you very likely are struggling with not only patient care, but any care that you do for your family or your friends or your other loved ones in your life. You can't pour from an empty cup, so you need to be protective of your physical and your mental health. The first way that you do this is a very foundational step, and that is to prioritize quality sleep. Sleep impacts your energy levels for your physical health and has a huge effect for your mental health. Lower sleep can impact your mood, can contribute to anxiety symptoms. So make sure that you have the foundational sleep hygiene tools implemented into your life. Sleep in a cool and dark room. I absolutely love my blackout curtains. Avoid caffeine and alcohol later in the day. And if you're struggling with insomnia, there is a free app called CBT-I Coach. And that app is an excellent resource to work on different skills and strategies to help with your insomnia. Beyond sleep, you can get other types of rest. In episode 84, I talked about the 7 types of rest. It's a really great episode. Go ahead and take a listen to it. The next step for longevity is to ensure that you're nourishing your mind and your body with nutrient-dense foods that don't have a ton of added sugar and are not ultra-processed. Similar to sleep, eating nourishing foods not only helps with your energy and prevent heart disease, prevent cancers, prevent diabetes, but it really does impact your mental health too. Your gut health impacts your neurotransmitters. So when you're eating vegetables and fruit, getting protein in and getting probiotics in, whether that looks like foods or beverages or supplements if needed, all of this can help you refuel your mind and your body so that you can have a more sustainable career and think more clearly when you are practicing medicine. You probably could guess step number 3, and that is to move your body regularly. Once again, not only for your physical health, but your mental health too. That can look like simple walking. Weightlifting is excellent for maintaining your strength and helping with glucose regulation. Or you might want to do more gentle things like yoga and stretching. Or maybe you're more competitive and enjoy different sports like pickleball or volleyball. All of those things are wonderful for your overall wellness. The next tip that you can do to refuel your mind and your body is to seek professional help, whether that looks like getting checked out medically yourself when you're having symptoms, whether that looks like seeing a therapist or a psychiatry provider, whether that looks like getting a coach or a mentor. All of these different things can help. The next tip is to make sure that you are building a community, and that could look like your colleagues at work, whether it's other PAs or physicians or NPs that you work alongside of, or whether that's community of your friend group or people in life that enjoy different hobbies like you do. All of those connections help with your social health, which impact your mind and your body as well. So these are all great ways to refuel your mind and your body. The next tip so that you have a sustainable career is to make sure that you are nurturing your identity outside of medicine. This is for both the new grads out there that have been working so hard for this day, or maybe you're still in school and you feel like your whole identity is becoming a PA or other healthcare professional. Or this is for those of you that are considering retiring in the near future, and everyone in between too. It is essential that you figure out what hobbies you enjoy, what type of creative outlets you like to do, and figuring out your people that you can do those things with. Remember, you very likely are not going to be working in your role in medicine until the day that you die. So you need to make sure that you figure out what your identity is outside of medicine. How do you describe yourself? Do you only describe yourself as a PA? How do you like to spend your time? Is it only medicine or is it other things? My guess is it's other things, but make sure that you're cultivating those and using them as a way to decompress, be creative, and enjoy life overall. The 7th tip to refuel your mind and your body is to figure out your personal ritual to help you reset and decompress after a stressful day. This can look like walking away from your computer after you're done charting, going to your car and turning on some of your favorite music or maybe your favorite podcast and taking a listen as you're driving on the way home. Or if you work from home, this could look like closing your laptop and leaving the room that you typically work out of. This could also look like journaling. You could write out a few sentences about your day and learn to leave your work at work, your work during your work hours, and not be stressing and having anxious thoughts and spiraling and catastrophizing about how your day went or potential minor mistakes you made. You can only do your best, and it will actually eat you up inside if you don't leave your work at work. The next way to refuel your mind is to keep learning what actually excites you and lights you up. That definitely could look like CME within medicine, but it definitely could look like personal development. What types of books do you enjoy reading or listening to? Besides trying to get your financial health under control, what other things are you working on? Or what other skills are you learning to do that you enjoy? Is it that you're learning how to podcast or learning how to start a YouTube channel or learning how to create a blog or a website? Now that we've covered 8 out of the 20 tips to have career longevity in medicine that fall under the first step of the framework, refuel your mind and body, let's talk about the next step. That is redesign your clinical role. In order to have a sustainable career in medicine, you either need to redesign or make some changes in your current role, if those are needed, or shift and find a different role that works better for you, unless your role is wonderful. So let's talk about the next tip here, and that is to either don't take call or take less call. Call can disrupt your sleep, take away from your time with your family or your time for your self-care outside of work, and can really impact your stress levels. So be mindful about how much call you take if you choose to take a role that has call in it. The next tip is to cut back on your clinical hours. That could look like working fewer hours per day or fewer days per week. You could cut back on your FTE. You could have shorter shifts. You could work 3 or 4 days per week instead of 5 days per week. Honestly, cutting back on my clinical hours has been one of the best ways that I feel like has impacted my sustainability in medicine personally. It has helped so much with my burnout, and the absolute only way that I could cut back on my hours was when I got my student loan debt paid off with investing aggressively so that my husband and I have reached the point of coast financial independence. where I worked hard earlier in my career and set my future self up for financial success, for flexibility, for freedom. So many PAs and other medical providers think that they need to leave medicine when they're stressed or when they're burnt out. And then you ask them how many hours they're working, and it's 50 or 60 hours per week. It's like, well, how about you first cut back to full-time at 40 hours per week, right? Or if they're at 40 hours per week, cut back to 20 to 30 hours per week. And if you're looking at me like I'm crazy, how in the world can people financially afford that? I want to remind yourself that you very likely earn over 6 figures, right? Even though you're feeling like you're living paycheck to paycheck, there are very likely changes you can make with your finances. When was the last time that you're open and honest with yourself about your budgeted monthly expenses, your mortgage or your rent every month that you're paying, your car payment, or those multiple subscriptions that you don't use? I encourage you to have that check-in, because if you are feeling fried, cutting back on your hours can truthfully help. The most listened to episode has been episode 126, called 6 Figures But Scrimping: 10 Reasons High Earners Live Paycheck to Paycheck. So if you're scratching your head trying to figure out why in the world you're living paycheck to paycheck, even though you're a high earner, go ahead and take a listen to that episode. And then I challenge you to do the hard work to make the changes. The next tip to redesign your clinical role is to avoid the shifts that are challenging, difficult, unsustainable. And for some, that could look like overnight shifts, that could look like weekend ones where you have to work every weekend or multiple weekends a month, or it could look like those shifts that are over 12 hours long. To have a sustainable career, limiting those things can be helpful. The next step to redesign your clinical role is to see fewer patients per hour. I see all the time in different groups online how there are PA roles out there. And again, I know this applies to our colleagues, physicians, and MPs alike, where in family medicine, they have to see a patient every 15 minutes, no matter what the concern is, no matter if it's a physical or something else. Or I've even seen with psychiatry that they're following up on mental health in 15-minute appointments as well. And I've experienced both of those specialties, family med for 6.5 years and psychiatry for 4.5 years. And I don't feel as though I would have done a good job in either role if I were feeling like I were having to see a patient every 15 minutes. It blows my mind that a lot of roles out there, that's the norm and that's expected. I can see some specialties where that's sustainable, but there are so many out there that administration and leaders that have never worked medicine a day in their life are saying that that needs to be the standard, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a recipe for burnout, and it's a recipe to deliver care that isn't great quality. So if you're in a role like that, ask yourself if you feel like you're practicing good medicine. If you are, then continue to do that. I'm sure you're getting excellent RVU bonuses with a schedule like that. But if you're looking around thinking, is this normal? And asking yourself the question, is this sustainable for the next 1 year, much less 5 years or 10 years, 20 years in medicine? Probably not. The next tip is to make sure that you are using your vacation time. Taking periodic breaks helps with burnout, but it is not the absolute cure by any means for most people. So again, if you are only taking a vacation from a really stressful role, that stress is probably going to be there when you get back, right? But if you're taking a vacation from a sustainable role, then you are creating those memories with your family, with your friends, or with yourself even if you're taking a solo vacation, and creating those memory dividends for the future. In episode 138, I talked about the power of taking your PTO and why you need to take your time off guilt-free. So if you need that reminder to use your PTO, go ahead and take a listen to that episode. The next tip for redesigning your clinical role is to set boundaries and advocate for yourself. I'm speaking to both the new grads and the ones that have been practicing medicine for decades, and especially women in medicine. So many people struggle, but especially women struggle with setting boundaries for your time, for your energy, for what you want out of your role, what you need out of your role, advocating and negotiating your pay or your hours or your PTO or your other benefits. Remember, if you're not doing this for you, no one else is doing this for you. I've had a few episodes on boundaries, but Episode 98 is about the benefits of boundaries and how to set them. And episode 156 is about saying no to the yes trap. How many of you say yes to every single thing that's asked of you at work? That episode helps challenge that and helps you learn to say no. The next tip is to be open to career flexibility, including things like telemedicine roles or even non-clinical roles. Things like working in academia or consulting or working in informatics, working as a MSL. Considering both unique clinical roles and non-clinical roles in medicine can help with your longevity in your career as well. So now that we've talked about refuel your mind and body, redesign your clinical role, now we're going to talk about reclaim your freedom. So these final few tips are how you can reclaim your freedom. So you can create a life where your work, your career in medicine is actually aligned with your values and that you don't feel like you're surviving every day and every week in medicine, but that you're actually thriving in your role and outside of your role. So the next tip is to spend less and save more, especially when you are paying off your debts, whether that's student loan debt, credit card debt, car debt, etc. And the saving aspect can be building up your emergency fund, putting your money towards your debt payments, investing through your different investment accounts. Figuring out how to truly have that breathing room with your finances can help with sustainability. The next step is make sure that you're purchasing assets and not liabilities. Or if you do decide to purchase liabilities, especially once your debts have been wiped out, be mindful and practical about those liabilities. Always be spending on things that align with your values and spend intentionally. And especially always be purchasing assets like investments or investing beyond your accounts in things like real estate investments or businesses, etc. And skip the expensive liabilities or the liabilities that are more so for show or status to help you reclaim your freedom. The next tip is to take a sabbatical or at least a pause in between jobs. Once you have found a new job and you're working on getting that set up and getting credentialed and all of that, I highly encourage you to at least take 2 weeks off, if not longer, for a mini sabbatical. Way back in episode 40, I had Shane Foley on the podcast, and we talked about taking sabbaticals during your career in medicine. Shane has taken a few sabbaticals practicing as a PA over the years, so that's a really great episode. And then on a recent episode, episode 159, I had Jillian Johnsrud on, and she talked about mini retirements and how you can actually retire often throughout your career to help prevent burnout and figure out what intentional living looks like for you, what hobbies you enjoy, how you want to spend your time, and how you can help your overall well-being. The next tip is to reconnect with your purpose. Remembering your why in life or what your values are to make sure that your choices are aligning with those values really helps you reclaim your freedom. So many of us can feel too busy where we don't even think about what we want out of our life or what purpose we're having, or what feels like it's giving us purpose. You can talk through these questions with coaches, therapists, mentors, or you can journal about these things as well to help you figure that out. I had Dr. Jordan Grummett on in episode 148 where he talked about his book, The Purpose Code. So you may find that episode helpful as well. And then finally, the last step in the 20 tips to ensure that you have a sustainable career in medicine is to know when it's time to leave or time to pivot. This can look like whether it's time to leave your current role or whether it's time to leave medicine altogether, whether it's time to pivot into a new path for you. Again, once you've reconnected with your purpose in the last step. So if you're in a toxic environment or an unsustainable environment, or you've decided that your time in medicine is over, it's okay to move on. That helps with, again, living that life that's in alignment for you, and it's reclaiming your peace. In episode 150, I talked with McKenna, who is a PA that pivoted away from medicine because she was feeling lots of burnout, and she decided to step back out of medicine altogether. So that episode might be helpful for you if you're considering that. Or in episode 130, I had Dr. Chelsea Turgeon on, where she talked about life after medicine because she pivoted away from medicine pretty early on as well. So those are 20 tips for how you can have career longevity in medicine and have sustainability either in your current role or perhaps a new role, and whether that looks like for the next 3 months and you're about to retire and step away, or whether that looks like for the next 3 decades and you plan to be in medicine for a long time. All these different tips can help you with having that sustainability and finding that sustainability for you. Don't forget to grab your free worksheet about the Refuel, Redesign, and Reclaim framework that has all these tips, so it can serve as a reminder for you when you're wondering, how in the world am I going to practice medicine for that much longer? Go ahead and share this episode with your colleagues and your friends in medicine so they can find the information and help them out too. And let me know your thoughts about the episode. You can comment in Spotify on the episode directly, or you can rate the podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to this on, or you can find the social media post and leave a comment too. Would love to hear your thoughts about which of these tips you're going to try to work on to help you. I'm getting a couple of guests lined up for some upcoming episodes here. So if you're not subscribed to the show too, go ahead and hit subscribe or follow so you can learn from them coming up here as well. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day to listen, and I'll see you back here soon. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you decide to continue to join me along this journey of becoming a PA the FI way. Please take a moment to press the subscribe button on the platform that you are listening to this on, but more importantly, consider sharing with another current or future PA that could benefit from the information that we reviewed in this episode. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Until next time.